There are treatments that can slow the effects of Alzheimer's disease, but they still remain the only FDA-approved treatments to not be covered by Medicare. Parker Brown looked into some recent developments and shares those with us tonight.
In the fight to get CMS to cover FDA-approved Alzheimer's treatments, there's a new treatment that could be changing the game.
Since we last spoke with South Dakota's Alzheimer's Association chapter, there have been many new developments.
26 attorneys general signing on to a letter urging CMS to cover this disease. We have seen more members of Congress speaking up about the need for CMS to cover FDA-approved treatments for Alzheimer's disease. And this movement continues to grow with our advocates.
On Wednesday, drug maker Eli Lilly announced that in a clinical trial, donanemab in Alzheimer's medicine slowed progression of the disease. They plan to apply for FDA approval next month.
I think the results that we've seen from donanemab this week give us all the more evidence that Medicare needs to reverse this decision and provide coverage for FDA-approved treatments. What these results show is that the science is really on our side here. The science is saying when you can clear that amyloid, it can have life-altering impacts for people living with Alzheimer's disease.
There's no guarantee that CMS will cover the new Alzheimer's medication because they already don't cover the ones currently available. In June, the Alzheimer's Association of South Dakota plans to rally for access.
We'd love to cancel it if CMS wants to change their mind before then. But in the middle of June, we are going to be gathering to tell CMS, to tell the President, to tell our members of Congress, this isn't right.
Until CMS reverses their decision, the fight for more time with loved ones living with Alzheimer's will continue, especially in South Dakota, because South Dakota has the highest death rate from this disease in the nation.
To say that people living with Alzheimer's don't need access to these treatments is cruel. There's no other way to say it.
The date, time, and location of that rally in June is still to be announced. In Sioux Falls, Parker Brown, Dakota News Now.